Welcome back to Broken Electronics. Thank you so much for sharing this time with me today. Well, today we're going to wrap up the saga of the logic board replacement in my non-working, at least at first, 2008 Mac Pro. Part 1, we saw the removal of the old board and the installation of the new board in the case. Part 2 showed the return of necessary components, the thermal paste attachment of the heat sinks on the CPU and on the memory controller, and the return of the RAM, the return of the GPU, and all of the other various components that needed to be in there, and the first boot. So now I have two working 2008 Mac Pros. One, which I've been working right along, is the 2.8 gigahertz quad core, dual quad cores, total of 8 cores. And this one now is also dual quad cores, but running at 3.2 gigahertz. So, what I need to do today is transfer the improved components from the 2.8 gigahertz machine into the 3.2 gigahertz machine, which of course is going to be the faster of the two. And I'm going to be doing some benchmarks and some testing to see how much of a difference that change in processor makes, because that essentially will be the only difference. We'll do benchmarks on the 2.8 gigahertz as it is, do the component swap, do those same benchmarks, but now 3.2 gigahertz. Well, listen, I find this very interesting. I certainly hope that you do too, and if you do, please stay tuned. All right, El Capitan on the original working 2008 Mac Pro, the 2.8 gigabytes, a gigahertz machine. Let's take a quick look at the specifications here. So you see the 2 by 2.8 gigahertz quad cores. Now, 32 gigabytes of RAM. Clearly, we want the optimum specifications for the more powerful of the two machines. The 3.2 gigahertz right now has got 16, so we're going to transfer the RAM trays, of course. As far as the graphics, the 3.2 gigahertz right now has got an ATI Radeon 5770 with 1 gigabyte of video RAM. Again, same exact idea. We want a more powerful graphics card in the stronger of the two machines. So we're going to move the NVIDIA Quadro 4000 with 2 gigabytes of video RAM over to that machine. Now, if we look at storage, that's going to be another one to look at. Currently, right now, our boot drive is this Crucial SSD. It's a 1 terabyte SATA SSD. We're going to transfer that over. And also, for extra storage, this 750 gigabyte hard drive. Now, this Western Digital hard drive, this was the original boot drive for this machine. When I put the Crucial SSD in place, I cloned the installation of El Capitan from the Western Digital drive to the Crucial drive. So what I'm planning on doing is leaving this 1 terabyte Western Digital drive in this machine. So it will have a functional installation of El Capitan, should be working absolutely fine. And we will then transfer the 750 gigabyte Macintosh hard drive over to the other machine so it's got the optimum storage. That leaves this 2.8 gigahertz machine with a good amount of storage. I mean, 1 terabyte should be plenty. Running on a hard drive, but I mean, it's a good hard drive, so that's a good thing. And then the faster of the two machines has got the Crucial SSD, and that's some extra storage there. That should work very well. All right. Now, I did run. That's not what I meant. That's an old test. I did run Geekbench before I started this recording, and let's have a look at that. Our scores, single core, these scores of course vary. On this particular machine, this multi-core score is the highest that I have seen, 10,212. Generally the single core scores are in this ballpark, and this is going to be our main additional comparison. We would expect to see the single core score go up, obviously. How much it goes up will remain to be seen. And I would expect a bit of an increase in the core score as well, given that we're running at higher clock speeds on the two CPUs. So that should work out. Close out of Geekbench here. Now, what I intend to do at this point is to shut this machine down. I'm going to let it cool off for 20 minutes or so, and then start swapping the components. You won't have to wait the 20 minutes though. I will do that for you. So please stay tuned. And now for the transferring of components. You're probably not going to be able to see this really well, but what the heck, let's try to put it in the video if we can. The 2.8 gigahertz machine is on your right, and the 3.2 gigahertz machine is on your left. All right. Open our levers, and off come the doors. Okay. Now I am, first of all, I'll simply remove my 128 gigabyte SSD from there. And while we're in here, okay. And we've got our Radeon. Fortunately, they both use the main 6-pin to full 6-pin. All right. Deal with that. That slot cover man problem. I've got a bunch of slot covers. All right. including this one. All right, now. It may be easier to do that with the quadro unplugged. And the quadro being a lower profile card, it is easier to remove. And we unplug it. Over here. Plug it in. Yep, it appears to be fully in place. We'll need a slot cover for this. Now it is. All right. Not getting in there quite right, but I'll tidy that up later. All right, now let's. We do, of course, want both machines to continue to work. All right. There we go. All right. And yep, this is our terabyte SSD. I believe. No, that's the one I want to leave in. So it must be this one. All right. And we have room for expansion with 3 bays open over here, 2 over here, which I'm probably not ever going to populate. All right, now I want to move the RAM. These RAM trays are interchangeable. Okay. Yep. Okay. All right. So. And that's all there is to it. Complete swap of RAM, hard drives for the most part, SSD, and the graphics cards. So, the next step is going to be to hook that machine up and boot it up and check out some benchmarks. So, please stay tuned. Well, okay, this is the, might as well show you while I'm telling you, the 3.2 gigahertz. So yes, we see 2 by 3.2 gigahertz quad cores, total of 8 cores. Memory now, though, is 32 gigabytes, so both the trays are being recognized correctly. Our startup disk is now the Crucial SSD. Now, that was the one bit of real-life drama that occurred in here, because it just never seems to be completely easy. By and large, this has been a very easy video to do, but yeah, the first couple of times I tried to start it up, it was giving me the flashing folder with the question mark. I booted it from the 128 gig drive at one point, and it wasn't recognizing the Crucial drive. I'm thinking it's the adapter that it's on. I needed to pull it out and reseat it with some force a couple of times, and obviously it's there now, as we can see. 1 terabyte solid state SATA drive, and the additional storage of 750 gigabytes of hard drive. So this seems to work pretty well. We need now to open Geekbench, and it's reading everything correctly here too. The 32 gigabytes of RAM and 3.2 gigahertz the Intel Core Xeon. All right then. So I'm going to run the CPU benchmark. Now that will take, it really only takes a couple of minutes to run, but you don't have to sit here through that. I'll be back with the last clip when that's done. Stay tuned. Well, our results are in. The 2.8 gigahertz test is on the left, and the 3.2 gigahertz test is on the right. And it came out pretty much as I was expecting. Yes, we did get a bump. The single core score, a pretty decent bump, over 200 points. So certainly noticeable, though not huge. The multi-core score did jump up roughly 1,000 points. So that's something. Now, what does this tell us? Based only on this, if you're going to upgrade a 2008 3,1 from the 2.8 gigahertz processor, you have two choices. You can go to dual 3.0 gigahertz or dual 3.2. I would guess, now I haven't run tests of course on the 3.0 machine, but I would guess that the distinction between 2.8 gigahertz and 3.0 is probably not worth the difficulty involved in doing the upgrade. 3.2 probably is. However, of course, let us remember this is a synthetic benchmark. So we need to throw a real-world test at it. And the real-world test I've been using is folding. Now, that's kind of a nice test on my part because I don't have to actually sit there and do anything with the machine. The folding program does it on its own. So yeah, I'm going to set it to work folding. It's going to usually takes, say, a couple of hours or so to really get itself up to speed once you've begun folding. But that will probably tell us. Now, the points can vary considerably. The 2.8 gigahertz processors were running somewhere between 30,000 points and 38,000. So, you know, we may not see a huge difference, so that may just be the variable, but I think it'll tell us something. So, I'm going to give it that 2 or 3 hours, and then we'll get one more clip in this before we're done. So, stay tuned. Okay, no, I am not running Catalina on a 2008 Mac Pro, although I could, courtesy of DOS Dude 1. And by the way, I would suggest that anybody who benefits from those patches, throw the guy a few bucks. He deserves it in the phone for being the genius that he is. Anyhow, I got the idea that in looking at that real-world comparison, I could, in this case, unlike most upgrade comparisons, run the two machines simultaneously doing folding. Since rather than replacing the 2.8 gigahertz processors, I have actually kept both the machines running. So let's share the screen. Now, the 2.8 gigahertz Mac Pro is identified as Mac Pro 3,1B. And here's our screen sharing. Talking about this Mac, we see our 2 by 2.8 gigahertz quads and 32,394 points per day. Now, as I pointed out, this figure can vary considerably. It can vary, you know, the machine is working on a pretty substantial work unit right now, and that has some variance. How good my Wi-Fi is doing at any given time. I have both these machines plugged into an airport Extreme router, which is wirelessly connected to my main router. So they are getting the benefit of 802.11 AC. All right, so yeah, 32,000 points per day. Now we go down here. Screen sharing is pretty amazing, isn't it? All right, Mac Pro 3,1A.
And we'll share the screen. And we're at 36,000. Okay, that's a 4,000 point differential, and that may vary. Now, this is a much less substantial work unit that's working on. We can refresh this, see if it changes, and it may, because this varies considerably. Nope, it's very much the same. So we're seeing a 4,000 point differential. I've seen as much as a 5,000 point differential between the two. That's pretty much in line with what I was expecting. I really wasn't expecting a huge difference to show up between the two. We're going from dual 2.8 gigahertz processors to dual 3.2 gigahertz processors. So, yeah, I would say it's enough that the upgrade is worth doing. Although we should keep in mind that this is not really an easy upgrade. Although it certainly is doable. And I would point out, you can get the 3.0 gigahertz processors quite a bit less expensively than the 3.2. I think you would find very quickly, it's just not worth it. You wouldn't get enough of a bump between the 2.8 and 3.0. Here, it's enough to at least consider it. Well, anyhow, that's, we have learned something. I have learned something, and I hope you have in the process as well. So, I think we can sign off on this now. Be good to other people. It will make our world better if all of us can do that. Be good to yourselves. You deserve it, and it'll make this better world we're trying to make better for you. And yeah, let's really hope this world gets better, because it's not in the greatest of shape right now. Take very good and careful care in these most difficult times. We will be back with more videos very soon. This has been Broken Electronics.